It is the end of summer. It was a hot one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, It reminds me of you. But it was a hot summer, and we wanted to give you guys a recap on how the farm looks. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne.
And Lori.
And this is Edge of Nowhere Farm. So we're coming to you today at the end of summer. It is the beginning of September, and we are inside the house because it is hot outside. Most of the country is cooling down. We are going to eventually. It just doesn't feel like it today. I want to say today we're at about 106 degrees. That's hot, even for September. Might be a record breaker. And we've had a very, very hot summer overall. I know the month of July for us, we had record-breaking back-to-back days of 110 plus. And we've had a few days that we've actually hit record temps on top of that. So it has been very, very warm. So we're gonna take you guys on a mainly drone tour of the farm here so you guys can see just what it looks like at the end of summer. I will say, spoiler alert, the farm looks fantastic. So we are, 3 years in for everything starting to grow, because we're almost 4 years here on the farm, and it's really starting to green up well. So you want to walk us through the front of the farm, because that seems to be your favorite.
At the front of the property, we have all of our evergreen trees. So we have the guavas up there, we have loquats, and then we go into our citrus. One of those citrus trees that we have that looks really good as far as the fruit especially is the pomelo tree.
And that is one of, if not the largest citrus on the planet, and they are massive. We roll around that corner of the property. As if you guys are driving up to the farm, the first thing you'll hit is one of our gates, and you'll look out across our pasture. Now, that pasture is designated for our laying hens. It's about 6,000 square feet. We also run our broiler chickens on that a couple times a year in the fall and in the spring. That pasture has no Bermuda grass in there. We don't want Bermuda here on the farm, at least not on purpose. That pasture has about doubled in size at the end of summer versus last year, and what you're seeing is predominantly alfalfa. In fact, almost completely alfalfa, and I'd say probably a good 60 to 70% of that ground is covered with alfalfa that our laying hens have been chewing on all summer long. Our chicken coop and run was the first thing that was actually built before we got onto the farm, before the house was even done. So we had a place for our laying hens. The goal with that is to cover that on all sides so that our chickens have some natural shade. Now we do cover the top of it with some actual siding or roofing material. And what we did is on the west side, we have our ever-bearing mulberries. On the north side, we have our hedge of kumquats. And on the east side, we have all of our sugarcane. And the sugarcane that we planted earlier this year is looking really, really good. So most of that is completely shaded in. It's exactly what we wanted.
Let's take a look at our west orchard and see how that is doing. This is the orchard that we have all of our stone fruit in.
So that side of the farm, we also have a lot of our livestock. We have our goats, we have our turkeys, and we have our ducks. They all have their pens on that side. So they get some afternoon shade because that's our western orchard. So sun setting in the west gives them a little bit of shade in the evenings here on that side of the farm. So now we're gonna roll back onto the back 40. There's not a lot going on back there. However, we have our pecan and more importantly, our mulberry trees back there. So we have our black Pakistan and our white, we don't know what kind, trees back there. Now, those are trees we're letting get full size because it's the backdrop to the farm when we look out our back patio. Those trees at this point are probably, I exaggerate a lot, so let's not exaggerate. How tall and wide would you say those trees are?
They are probably 20 feet tall and I don't know, 15, 20 feet wide almost.
And we planted those trees, just over 2 years ago. So in just over 2 years, we've got 20 foot tall by a good 10 to 15, maybe or so feet wide. And at 2 years old, they're nowhere near done growing. Now, one of the things we added last year, and we actually have business partners with this, is our honeybees, right?
Yes.
So now we have those back on what we were considering originally as our livestock acre, but it's connected, but it's kind of a separate acre that we have on the farm. And we've got the bees tucked in back there. We did lose one hive to the heat, and that Kyle was telling us that hive actually melted completely. So lost that hive, but we have two more, one that's doing really well and one that's hanging in there from what we can see. And those bees are doing well. I know one of the things when I was back there with the drone is we have some pigeons here on the farm. We started out with 2 pigeons that we saw, and now there's a few dozen pigeons, even here at getting towards the end of hunting season for dove. But they really like the drone. They were circling around the drone, really trying to figure out exactly what kind of bird this was, sitting in the air making a lot of irritating noise. We've had several wood chip deliveries, although not recently, that we were taking. Those are just a huge pile of wood chips still. We do pull those as we need wood chips, and we're whittling away at it pretty good. I know we get people that ask thinking that it's a bunch of rocks back there. It's actually not rocks. It's just wood chips that are a few years old. One of the advantages that we have to being out here in the desert is those wood chips hold up really well to our heat and not break down because they don't get a lot of water. A lot of those piles are going on 3 years old, and they are just as tall as they were 3 years ago. Now we have one other thing on the back 40, right? 3 acres or so of property on that backside, mostly empty. We have our wood chips. We have our mulberry trees, we have our bees, and what else did we add there this season?
So we actually added our pigs back there this season. So we have 21 of them this year, and this is the area that we are starting them in. We will rotate them, so we'll move them to a new patch of ground for them here in the next month or so, and they're doing really good back there.
And the goal is to have 3 separate pins that we can rotate them because we have them basically summer through late winter, early spring is when we keep them on the farm. That seems to be our best timing. So having them back there, most importantly would be what?
Because they smell.
There's really no way around that.
We tried to get them as far as we could from our house and also our neighbors too.
Right.
So
now we should clarify that you'll see a lot of videos on deep bedding and things like that, and we could attempt that, but we're limited on wood chips, and so those can be hard to come by. And we need to have a wallow for them, especially during the summertime. And they do not keep that wallow clean, so they need water. But they are going to they're going to poop and pee in that, and it's going to smell no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So yeah. Otherwise, we remove all the manure, and we do put wood chips on top of that so that doesn't smell. But that wallow, you can't get away from that smell. We're going to give you a shot of the East Orchard here in a second, but one of the things I want to talk a little bit about is watering. This year, especially with the heat, we decided to go from watering once a week to watering twice a week. One of the reasons we did that was because last year with record heat, we saw that the figs were really struggling. So we still got a little bit of leaf drop on those, which is really common in the summertime, but we've seen that watering twice a week has really done that side of the farm well. This part of the farm is where we have our pome fruit and our figs. So figs, pears, apples, and of course we can't forget our jujubes.
Up towards the front of the property on the east side, we have our berry area is what we call it. So that has some mulberry trees, our Shangri-Las, contorted, Persian, and then we also have our blackberries. So this year we used that area to put our chicken tractors that we have our new layers in. So this is the layers that will replace our current layers that are in the chicken run area, and we have them there so it has nice shade from the mulberry trees and little cozy area for them.
They're kind of tucked up in there, and they're intense. It's kind of like they're camping.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of little Girl Scouts camping. So moving from there, we go to the center of the farm, and we've got our berry cane patch. Got a pretty good shot of that. That area was the first place we had pigs here on the farm. We did cover that area with wood chips, and a little bit of compost, and that area 2 years later is really doing good. We got several hodgepodge things growing in there. We got some Jerusalem artichoke is in there. We have some pigeon pea that we just planted. We have our couple of patches of different types of blackberries, and we have our sugarcane in there. Not to mention some sorghum that seems to keep coming up on its own.
Yeah. In the center of the property, we also have our Thanksgiving turkeys that we raise each year. So we have a separate area for them, a separate pasture that we have for them as well, which has the sorghum Sudan grass as well as alfalfa. We finally were able to let the turkeys out on that pasture this past weekend, and they were really loving that, running through that and munching on the greens in there.
We get those in the middle of summer, and then obviously we process those right before Thanksgiving. And the challenge with that, without having Bermuda, which we, again, don't want to have on the farm, is we need to have some type of grass that grows really well through the summer that they can walk out onto. And we found that sorghum, they love the sorghum, and the alfalfa, both of those do well during the summer, which gives them something to munch on right out of the chute here in the beginning of September.
And then surrounding that area, we have moringa trees, and we have the vetiver grass that we just planted this year as well.
The vetiver is doing really good, and I think what we need to do is we don't have anything on the north side of that area, so I think might need to do some additional types of grass, and we've had some suggestions on different types of bunch grass to try. Maybe we'll try that on that side as well. We follow some permaculture techniques. We did that when we first had the farm, and we have everything set up in zones. Zone 1 for us would be our garden beds and our chicken area. So that surrounds the house, and it's really the middle of the farm, at least the section that we're working on now. I should clarify, we are on 6 acres here, which sounds like a lot if you're in the city. If you're outside the city, you know it's not a tremendous amount of space, but you can get a lot of things into that area. In fact, I've got an overhead shot of the front 2.5 acres, which is where basically all of our production is. You can see of how we have the farm laid out and just how much green is filling that area in as we're working around it. Now we have our livestock here close to us. That includes our coonies, which we added this year. We also have a couple of other pigs in there that will be breeding. Who's in there?
So we have Fiona, so she's a Burke, and then we have Duke, who is a red wattle Mangolista mix.
Yes, and both of those are doing good. Our coonies now are, what are they, about 6 months old or so, and they're filling in really good. Those are little fatties.
Oh my goodness.
They're adorable. They're so ugly, they're adorable. I'd say that's the best way. They look like Ewoks. I think they look like Ewoks.
I thought Lucille looked like the Grinch.
She does kind of look like the Grinch. I appreciate her if she's the Grinch. But we've got them nice and close to us because we visit them a couple times a day. And our vineyard garden is right next to that, which is where we have all of our garden beds and obviously our wine grapes looking really, really good. Had a couple little struggles with a couple of the spring beds that we typically have a lot of cowpeas in. Those didn't do so well this year. Our pepper plants are still alive there, but the sweet potatoes look fantastic. Yeah. And the ducks are there every morning to kind of trim those back, and they're falling behind.
They were doing really good until the last couple weeks that they're now starting to get a little out of control.
Yeah, but they look fantastic.
They do.
And also we have all of our new beans that are in, but the garden beds themselves look really good right in the center of the farm. So now we did have some losses this summer. And really, I would say we only can really attribute one of those to the heat, at least as far as we can tell. It was our Nagami kumquat. But there's some caveats to that. So that we had one in that spot that did not survive either. So which makes that spot questionable in my opinion. And also it was the kumquat that got only afternoon sun. It didn't get any morning sun.
Yeah, it was a lot smaller than the other ones and completely got blocked in the morning.
Yeah, so it didn't get any morning sun, just that piping hot afternoon sun. We finally took that tree out. Didn't get it on camera, but we did take that tree out about a week or two ago.
Yeah.
But that area, I think, without it is fine. Now, we did have the lime tree and the bay leaf tree that we took out at the beginning of summer. That was the beginning of summer though. So that was before we saw the heavy heat. And both of those two trees were really struggling all through the winter, actually, when they shouldn't have. And then coming into spring, they just didn't make it. Yeah. So we went ahead and pulled those. One other tree that does have a caveat to it would be one of our black Pakistan mulberries in the back. That's the tree that split in half on us. And we actually saved it through the summer. It did great. We wanted to basically cut that down below that split point because we knew we would always struggle with that. And it started to come back really good, but the bunnies got to it, ate all of the green, and then it never came back. So I think that one's gonna, unfortunately, probably need to be replaced as well. Did we lose anything else?
So we had a moringa tree that didn't come out of dormancy. And they were all really late, so it could have still come out, but because it was still green, the trunk was, but we decided to pull it out and replant.
Yeah, and they grow so fast, so we figured go ahead and just seed it during the summertime, which is when we do it. And actually, that little seedling is about a foot tall or so.
Yeah.
So we can get a couple more feet off of it as we go into our fall flush. I think we're going to be okay. But other than that, I think everything looks fantastic.
Yeah,
so,
everything looks really good.
Yeah, so here we are, record heat through July, record days in through August, record temps now in September in Arizona, and we can really only say we lost maybe 1.5 trees to it.
1.5.
But all the animals look fantastic. So no losses with any of the animals, which is pretty common. And so overall, farm looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is give you guys a quick shot of our fence line. So just so you guys can get an idea of the space that we're talking about. I think the drone did a pretty good job of picking that up. Sorry if you guys get a little sick to your stomach. Maybe I should give this a little bit of like a warning label. So I try to be not too aggressive with my driving, unlike how I am normally on the streets with the drone. So, but I wanted to give you guys a quick round around the fence line so you can see what that looks like. So here we are in September. We are heading into the middle of September here shortly, which means it is planting season. We've got a few trees we'll be planting. We need to replace the lime. We're going to do a different lime this year. We need to replace the bay leaf. We did a little prep work there to see how that does. We have a partner that's working on us with growing out some starts over the summer. So we're going to see how that goes because we're going to make those available hopefully if we do well. But we're going into planting season. We're going into the fall season, and I'm really looking forward to the cooler weather.
Oh, yes.
I've had it with summer.
I thought you were going to say I'm really looking forward to planting more trees, and I'm like, oh.
Well, I am kind of looking forward to planting those trees. Not going to lie.
Well, at least they're just replacements, so it's not like we're having to redo the whole thing.
Nope, not at all.
Because I still am done with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not though. FYI, in case you're wondering. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We cover a lot of things here on this newly established functioning farm here in the Arizona desert and would love to see you on a regular basis. If you have any questions or comments, those go in the
comment section down below.
And our Amazon shop, I'll leave a link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with the link down below, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere,
so can you.
Unlike fake TV, this is real TV. There's actually water in here, not coffee.
The boys, it's vodka.
That's what we need.
I'm Blake Shelton. That's what he has.
I'm no Blake Shelton. You're hotter than Gwen Stefani. The question we get all the time here is, how can you do this in the desert? What can you do in the desert? Doesn't everything die in the desert? Shouldn't everything be in the shade in the desert? And the answer is no, 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 and no. A lot of no's in there. I got a big nose, that's why I say it.
One of the questions was, how can you do this in the desert? And that's a no.
Oh, yes. That's a yes, that's a yes. That was really good. You like cut in perfectly when I said, this is Dwayne and Lori, and this, let's try that again. Let's see if we can do better.
But why do we have to do it again if it was perfect?
Yeah, I know, I want to do like 2 or 3 takes.
Okay.
Hello everyone, this is Dwayne. Wow.
I want to just mess with you.
Oh, that's messed up. Come on. It doesn't count as a blooper if you did it on purpose. It's an outtake. So you guys know us. Oh wait, so you're done drinking.
Sorry.
Not vodka. Consider that plus some.
Oh my goodness. Are you trying to rub up against me?
What? Awkward. For them, not for me. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to smack you. All right. Stop, you're literally completely distracting me.
Sorry.
What were we talking about?